Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Northeast Retro Den podcast. This is Nerdcast episode 4. With me are the four horsemen of the Retropolis. I'll be Ric Flair. Right, it is myself, Simon Guinness, Gamer Sai, Chris Sager. Tonight it can be our Arn Anderson. We've got special guest Nick Atkinson filling in for Tully Blanchard. And because there was never a luchador in the Four Horsemen, we've got the brother Rey Mysterio doesn't like to talk about, it's Mick Smith. This is Nerdcast episode 4. So, as I've probably noticed by Mick unmasking, this is episode 4, and this time it's wrestling related. We've got SummerSlam just around the corner. So we've got some wrestling, retro wrestling and retro gaming discussion coming up. So welcome to my Four Horsemen. I think what we'll do is start off with, let's just have a little bit of an old school wrestling debate. Who was your favourite wrestler of all time? Chris Sager.
I was going to go in hard with Stone Cold Steve Austin, but I always preferred The Rock, to be honest. Yeah, it's class. I always preferred The Rock. So my friend, obviously Stone Cold was the best, like we all know that. But I was always a big Rock fan growing up. I just loved his swagger and his mic skills and all the rest of it. And especially eyebrows. Yeah. The whole Rock Stone Cold saga. All my friends were massive Stone Cold fans. I was in the Rock corner. I think it's great.
You ever see him live?
I've seen him live. I haven't seen him fight live now. I walked past him once.
You walked past him? Really?
Yeah. He was in the
Tesco's.
Tesco's at Kingston Park. No, he was in Newcastle. Must be a house show years ago.
I remember it was when Eric Bischoff and Y2J were there, and they were throwing cans of mill around that ring like you wouldn't believe, and it was just hellish.
And I don't think I actually caught the house show, to be fair, but I kind of saw the top of his head in the crowd. But yeah, well, I haven't seen him fight live. No.
Saw him do it.
He is a big bugger, right enough.
Yeah, he did do a couple of house shows, I think. This one being, he was still a heel at the time, so it would have been 98, 99. It was just after WrestleMania.
It was December.
No, this was definitely just after WrestleMania, because Triple H had just turned heel on X-Pac, if you remember that one. And The Rock, when it was in a house show against the Big Show, I want to say. Big Show, and he called us all a bunch of Tyneside trailer park trash. It was.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, love it.
And the main event of that house show was Steve Austin against the Big Boss Man.
Against the Boss Man? Jeez.
Yeah. I know about house show, to be honest, because The Undertaker was there as well. The Undertaker Triple H was another match.
I remember that was the night when these cans were going everywhere, and Eric Bischoff was just petrified for his life by the looks of it. And in fact, Chris Jericho was a bit, and obviously Stone Cold was just standing there, give it, and they were throwing the cans, and oh no, hell of a night. I
Must
think
be
half of
different, right?
Newcastle
'Cause-
went up in flames, aren't they?
Yeah, I think this is a different night because when this would have happened, Jericho was still WCW.
Well, no, you might be right.
Aye.
I can't remember.
Jericho was definitely it was definitely later on that side when I saw him. Like,
Aye. Okay, cool. Well, our resident luchador, Mick Smith, favorite wrestler of all time.
It's such a toss-up between quite a few, but one I've stuck with is The Undertaker.
Good choice.
It's so hard not to be the favourite, if you know what I mean. From years back, first WrestleMania and WrestleMania 7, right the way through, up to, well, I don't know when I stopped watching, but yeah, the Taker. He was just an amazing presence. When everything went dark and he came out to the ring and stuff, that was just cool.
Best gimmick of all time, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. Even with Paul Bearer.
I love Paul Bearer. Back in the day when it was like Paul Bearer, he had that kind of aura, didn't he? I think he just stood the test of time. He's for such a, on paper, such a silly gimmick to have so much weight and to carry on all these years.
It sounds ridiculous.
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
it? I mean,
they did try and change that to the American Badass for a little bit, but
So I like
probably
that
I'm not so sure on that one, but
I liked it.
It was
that was an era when they were just
era.
yeah, they were trying to like make them more realistic, weren't they, at that point? They were trying to kind of phase out gimmicks, but
that's right.
I quite liked it. Rolling down the ring on his motorbike, it was awesome.
Aye. I remember when Taker made his debut, I was at school, and you know we knew that Ted DiBiase had a mystery partner for Survivor Series, and we were all trying to guess who it would be. And I didn't see it live. So, you know, very few kids had Sky Sports in my, wasn't even Sky Sports, I think, at the time. But anyway, we couldn't watch it live, but some kids managed to. And next day at school, and I went to school and they said, hey, did you see who the mystery partner was? And we're like, no, it was Mean Mark from WCW. Which was his name at the time. Did you see the recent documentary on him?
I haven't yet.
I haven't watched it. No.
Really good.
Is it? What's it on? Is it on the WWE network?
It's on network, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not paid. I don't pay for that, so.
You just need to think of a new email address every time.
It's really good because he totally breaks character, and if the cameras follow him around, you see, because he's broken character so few times, hasn't he, over the years?
Oh, absolutely. He
lived his gimmick, and yeah, we watched it all and we loved it. It really opens your eyes a bit. How poor bloke, he wanted to have like a big final match, and then his big final match was always crap, so he decided he had to have another one, and why he kept on so long.
Another one.
Yeah, it was really good. But Undertaker, absolutely class.
Yeah, you do feel for them. They seem to keep dragging them back out again a little bit, and you know.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. The last few years have been a bit like, yeah, he definitely looks his age now, and I think it's it's time we just called it a day probably for me.
Be remembered as an absolute legend rather than
absolutely
exactly that, as opposed to someone washed up and. You know,
some of them go too long. Ric Flair went too long. Ric Flair's. Did you see Ric Flair's final match against Shawn Michaels? That one at WrestleMania.
Where Shawn Michaels apologizes to him before he's switching music.
He says, "I'm sorry, I love you," then knocks him out. Yeah. Oh, right there. Girls reckon guys don't know feelings. Right there. I cried. Excellent. Right, so our special guest, Nick, Nasty Nick, Nicky the Dragon Steamboat. Favorite wrestler?
Well, for me, Stone Cold, he's going to be the number one. He's always my number one. But growing up, it was the Rhodes Boys. So you've got Dusty, the American Dream, and obviously Gold Dust, Dustin Rhodes. Got to be my up there top ranking. Just the way he comes running in when you hear that way American Dream music, and then he comes flying through. Awesome.
See, I always think with the Rhodes, a lot of things, especially with UK fans, we never really saw Dusty at his best. We saw the older comical Dusty in WWF
Aye.
and his polka dots and stuff. If you go back and watch some of his old NWA stuff, the whole son of a plumber thing, some of his promos are out of this world. Absolutely, what a talker.
Definitely. I mean, even if you look back on YouTube, Dean Ambrose, who is no longer to be mentioned on the WWE side, but he does some phenomenal interviews pretending to be Dusty himself, and that awesome. But yeah, when he son of a plumber, I mean, ironically, I was going to wear the T-shirt, but still in the dirty basket. Sorry, apologies there. But pay homage to the Flying Ricky the Steamboat. But yeah, it's got to be Dusty, and obviously the ultimate Gold Dust for the Rose War era.
I mean, Gold Dust, underrated, I'd say, very underrated. People, I think because he spent too long playing the comedy character, I think, in WWE, but he has some great matches. He's having some fantastic matches now in AEW.
Oh yeah.
But you look back through his stuff, I mean, the Gold Dust character ahead of its time. Originally, when he first came out, and he was antagonizing Razor Ramon, and it was this androgynous thing, and back when, it was still a bit of a stigma for that sort of thing, and
Oh, absolutely.
and yet you forget what a good worker he is because the guy can wrestle, and you forget how big he is.
Definitely.
When you see him these days, and you realize he towers over most people, you don't realize what
big guy,
the fella. Yeah, and I think with talking about the Rhodes, is Cody's inherited a lot of his dad's talking talent. I've noticed recently on AEW, Cody has put in some incredible interviews, incredible promos.
I mean, yeah, I must admit, I was a bit AEW. What is this going to be? An ECW let's work on that a bit. But as I seem to watch it a bit more, and you watch the pair of them bounce off each other, and I mean, you've got Dustin, who's a deputy sheriff, and I mean, he's doing work, but I must admit, you're right, the guy massive metabolism, and I couldn't do it. I can barely climb the stairs at the minute, but anyway. But the amount of work the guys put in, I mean, I'm starting to love AEW even more. WWE are starting to creep a few cheeky little stories in, which I'm quite liking the look of. Obviously, the new Extreme Rules horror show, which is going to be the next pay-per-view, which does look phenomenal. The word horror show, in my eyes, must mean they've got something, and especially with the Eater of Worlds coming back as well. But yeah, totally agree. The guy works his arse off, really, if I can say that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and he does. He's having something of a renaissance, isn't he? I guess it shows that WWE have maybe missed out on him for the last 10 years when they could have been using him a lot more. And I bet the young'uns are learning a lot from the likes of Dustin Rhodes.
I think
definitely.
Both Cody and Dustin kind of got screwed with the gimmick, really, because they both wanted to change it for years and they never got a chance to with the.
No, Cody certainly
WWE.
did. Yeah. Nice one. Well, I wasn't expecting anyone to come out with the Rhodes brothers, but good answer. I wasn't sure who to pick. It's just like, there's obvious ones at Rock, and Bret Hart was always a big favourite of mine. Shawn Michaels, one of the greatest of all time, probably arguably the greatest in-ring worker of all time. But I'm going to go with Chris Jericho. I've loved every one of his gimmicks. I've never known someone reinvent themselves, and just come out with absolute gold. I mean, The Rock is the only person I could put anywhere near that for coming out with catchphrases and slogans. Jericho says something one week and the next week it's on a T-shirt. Loving the new Jericho in AEW. Le Champion.
A little bit of the bubbly. Just.
I mean, did you even say? Did you say the thing he did with Matt Hardy's drone? where he has an argument with Matt Hardy's drone. And it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. This little drone comes down and he tries to get the drone to join him, and he gives it a little t-shirt and put on a little hanger. And it's hang off it. And the drone starts to fly off, and he starts shouting, and he shouts, "Come back here!" And he shouts, "Release the hounds!" And these like little Pomeranians and shit start. And then the drone flies away, and it all goes quiet, and he stood there, and he just goes, "Little bastard took my t-shirt." I was crying laughing. This is a whatever 50-year-old Chris Jericho these days, still coming out with stuff. I mean, he's changed. He's put on a lot of beef, but he's changed his game around it. He's changed his finisher so that it's now this back elbow, the Judas effect. You know, it fits his look now that he looks like a big burly guy now. But back when he first appeared in WCW, and we used to watch Nitro, and he just used to come out and just taunt Goldberg, and used to have us in stitches. And you know, he'd talk and he'd come out with these great phrases, but then he'd still go out and have the match of the night. So, I think for 25 whatever years of just great characters and matches, I'm going with Jericho.
Fair choice.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so guys, back to our elimination chamber of wrestling talk. We discussed your favourite wrestlers, but this is primarily a gaming podcast, so let's talk wrestling games. I've asked you all to select your nomination for the best wrestling game. It can be from any era, any console, any style. And we'll go with Mick Smith first. What did you pick?
WrestleMania 2000 for the N64. Not because it was the greatest one. It was the first THQ one.
Wasn't.
It
was the first WWF THQ one.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Okay.
But the first one when they moved from Acclaim over. That is what I meant. Not the first THQ game.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it wasn't the best game ever. But it was about the time. It was about the people I played it with, and going through the story mode, and creating the wrestlers and stuff like that. Was more the memories of it than the actual greatness of the game.
See, I would disagree with you in that you'd say it's not the greatest, because the fighting system in those games, it started with the WCW ones, WCW versus NWO, World Tour and Revenge, and then went to that, and then ended up in No Mercy. I would argue is some of the best wrestling gameplay ever. The way the matches pan out, they pan out like real wrestling matches. What would you guys see?
I like the WCW games. I used to love them ones. They were always a lot more like they weren't as cartoony as the WWF games at the time. Even the later 3D sort of like you know the early PS1 games. They were still quite a little bit cartoony, very colourful. Whereas the WCW ones are a bit more raw and gritty. They moved a lot smoother. Thunder was really good. That's right? They're THQ, weren't they?
Thunder was. It was WCW. I can't remember who did it.
Well, I hope right, because that's the game I'm comparing it to.
Hang on, I found it. WCW NWO Thunder was THQ. You're right, THQ.
That was the best one. The last one we did.
Very different game.
We were like on that game. They used to have like the rubbish used to come in the ring when you were playing it. They throw like cans at you in the ring and stuff while you were like doing your suplex and what have you.
The only thing I remember with that one was when you selected a wrestler, you would have a little rant. Do you remember? You put your when you went to select them,
wasn't it?
Yeah, you'd see a little animation, and you were saying you should pick me. I'm the best or something. And when you went to Raven, you just used to go, pick me, don't pick me, I don't care.
Wasn't that ECW on the Dreamcast? Wasn't that game pretty similar to sort of, I don't really care, pick me, do what you want? What was it, Backyard Wrestling it was called, or something like that?
ECW, that a couple. They were by the same people who did the Attitude and Warzone games. It was that engine. Hardcore something that it was called, and have I got them? Oh, I can't spend the whole bloody episode looking through my games collection. But that was it. Raven. Obviously, he was known elsewhere, but he made his name big in ECW, didn't he? And then went to WCW.
Yeah.
And then went to WWF and was completely wasted. But, I mean, wasted as a character, not wasted.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a
probably
drug.
both. Excellent. Well, really good choice. Out of that series, I personally like WCW Revenge, just because at the time I was more into WCW. I loved the NWO, and I was a big Wolfpack fan, that sort of thing. But
Yeah, that was at its absolute peak, wasn't it?
class, wasn't it? But no, absolutely top game. I still play the N64 ones. They're still loads of fun. So we'll go with Nicky the Dragon.
I don't have any of them anymore.
Well, my pick, lovely 11-year-old me when he got his Mega Drive, Super WrestleMania. Got to be a very, very early game, I would imagine. But basics, you could just drop kick, knee them, do what you want. It's not as extreme as what you can do nowadays, but for me, it's got to be the classic Flying Edge on the Mega Drive.
Never played that one a lot myself, but I did play the Super Nintendo one. The Super Nintendo had Super WrestleMania as well, with different wrestlers, and from what I understand, wasn't quite as good. Super Nintendo one didn't have finishing moves, where I think the Mega Drive one did.
Mega Drive one did, yeah. But
And
yeah,
the
it's like I've got the
I remember it being
arcades on
very
massive
hard.
screen.
It was a button basher, wasn't it?
What
Yeah,
age was
button
it?
bash all the way.
What kind of era was that? I'm guessing it was like kind of the golden era. But what year did it come out?
93, I think. I mean,
93 would be sounds about
We've got
right.
Hogan on the front there, so it was Hogan and Warrior, Macho
got
Man.
Hogan and Warrior, Papa Shango's on it.
Papa
Shawn
Shango, what a
Michaels.
character he was.
Yeah,
Little bit
but
of
it was
Papa
just,
Shango.
you're right, it was button basher. You don't think about, well, I was going to say 13-year-old me didn't think about, press A, B, kick, start, up, down, left, right. But yeah, it's my original, one of the best I ever played when I was a kid. I mean, don't get us wrong, I like the sort of the raw Attitude era games that were released on PS2 and things like that. I've got them in the collection. But again, it was just, I don't care. Let's go. Let's play this all day. Monday, first break, let's all make a ring and kick each other all over the place out of pressing AB on the Mega Drive all weekend.
Nice one. Good choice. I tell you what, I'll go next. We'll leave Chris to last. I'm sure he's got something amazing. Right. Mine, normally I would hold up the game, but it's an arcade board, which you can see actually behind Mick. It's WrestleFest. I do actually own the arcade board, but I'm not going to hold it because it's just a PCB. Could be anything. But no, when I was a kid, we used to go down to Whitley Bay arcades and play that all the time. The amount of 10 pences I put into WrestleFest, I know for a fact is more than it ended up costing me to buy the thing years later. So, well, when we were kids, you'd always say when you're kids, if you could have an arcade game, what would it be? And I would always say WrestleFest. I remember when it first came into the arcades in Whitley Bay, and they had like the big, they had a 4-player version of it. And yeah, you had 4 kids playing the Royal Rumble mode on it. I'd always want to be either Ultimate Warrior or Ted DiBiase. But cracking game. And I've only ever once perfected the Royal Rumble on it, as in eliminated every other wrestler without anybody else getting an elimination. So it's really hard to do. You can't do it one credit because it doesn't actually give you enough time to do it with one credit. So you have to put 2 credits in just to gain enough time. It's a cheat. You can't, it's impossible otherwise. The time runs out before the wrestlers have even got in the ring.
That's it. Didn't Big Boss Man look absolutely huge on that when he come running down the ring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to try how many eliminations you can get, Earthquake's your man. Earthquake's the easiest one to eliminate in Royal Rumble with. Yeah. You just these moveset. It's really easy to hit a body slam next to the ropes with Earthquake, and then you go through them. If anyone wants to give it a go,
quick Nick at the moment. Actually,
you can. Yeah. You could. But yeah, it was phenomenal when we first went down to the Whitley and saw that. We played the first one, Superstars of Wrestling, which had like the Honky Tonk Man and people in it, and then
like Boss Man again as well,
which was a great game. But then when WrestleFest came out, blew it away. Absolutely.
Oh, you can't see it. It screams funny. That's on that one.
You got Superstars on that one.
On that one, yeah.
Boss Man's the best character on that one. There's a cheat on that one as well. By the way, if anyone's playing it, if you hit someone with a Boss Man slam, don't pin him. Just wait for him to stand up and walk into him, and you'll automatically hit him with another Boss Man slam and another one and another one, and you can do that, till he's dead. So, right, Chris Sager, what have you got for? What's your choice?
Well, if you haven't worked it out by now, the Attitude Era was my era, and obviously PlayStation 1 was like, it was in its pomp at the time. So the game I probably put the most time into was Attitude on the PS1. Just spending hours and hours making your own wrestler and saving it to your memory card and taking it to your mate's house and fighting him with your wrestler. And, yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, it probably wasn't the best game on the PS1 in terms of the mechanics in the game, the actual gameplay, because the SmackDown games kind of took that role, I think, towards the end.
Better than Warzone, though.
Oh, Warzone was 12, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, Attitude wasn't great. I mean, Attitude wasn't. If you play it now, it hasn't aged well. Like, I can't play it again now. Whereas SmackDown, you can kind of pick up and play because a lot of the buttons are the same. Whereas Attitude was a lot of like left, right, circle, up, down. You had to do
all combos.
Yeah, so like to do like the Tombstone, you'd have to do a certain combination. To do the Stunner, you'd have to do another combination. But yeah, it was great. Just spending hours making like your character into a member of DX, and then away you went. It's great.
That's what you did, though. I mean, you're right. The game's aged terribly, but we spent hours on that and all. And yeah, we're sat there creating characters, trying to create everyone out of WCW in Attitude.
Yeah. I'm sure the magazines. Remember magazines back in the day used to get like memory cards in magazines, and like they'd have like certain characters that they'd made to put onto the.
It was a disc. You'd get the disc, and then if you put your memory card on, it would put a save onto your memory card. Yeah.
Right. So I remember I used to get like all different. Because I think I got one. It was all the newer characters that had changed, so you get like the newer version of the Rock and all that kind of stuff, or as near as you possibly could to it. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. Not, let's say, not a great game now. But
no,
I think everyone played it at the time. Though we spent ages. I remember the finishing moves being rubbish on it. Like you could right at the start of the match, you could probably hit someone with the Stone Cold Stunner, and it wouldn't phase. They'd get back up. Got it like 10.
It was just a health bar, wasn't it? It was just like a really long health bar that you had to tick through. And it was whoever could hit the combination quicker who got the move off. So like my mate Mark used to play with, he was just always quicker than me. So like I never beat him because he just used to like get his combinations in dead quick.
Was that THQ as well?
Acclaim.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, you're right. Acclaim.
Yeah. I think the SmackDown games were THQ.
Right.
They came after.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they were really good. because the move sets were far better, I think, and the mechanics were better. And you could still make your own character and what have you, but it was never the same as the Attitude. Because it sounds silly, but like the menu screen was really fun. It was like all in that kind of Raw as War sort of font.
Yeah, it was.
Little things like that. You used to have the Raw as War music just playing on repeat. And some heavy metal music, which I'm sure Simon's probably more clued up on than I was.
It used to have but it had all the wrestlers' theme tunes and things as well, though, didn't it? And
It did, yeah. It was kind of like before The Rock became The Rock. He was still
Ricky Marciano, was that?
Rocky Maivia.
Yeah,
Rocky Maivia.
Yeah. He was in the what was that?
Legion.
The League.
No.
The Nation of Domination.
Nation of Domination. That was it. Yeah.
I think
with Farouk.
Was Farouk, yeah.
actually,
Ahmed Johnson.
Ahmed Johnson. Mark Henry.
It was basically
D'Lo Brown.
WWF. All the black guys in WWF basically.
D'Lo Brown.
It was like it was meant to be like the Black Panthers and the that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But actually, now I'm saying Rocky Maivia. Yeah, he was. I think he was Rocky Maivia in the first one, Warzone, and then by the time we got Attitude, he was in the Nation Domination. Possibly.
He was The Rock. I think he was The Rock. I think it said The Rock, but it wasn't like The Rock as we knew him, if you know what I mean, because he kind of evolved from there, didn't he?
Because it was Farouk's stable, wasn't it? And then The Rock just became huge. He just became this,
huge. Oh, absolutely.
That's
now it's become even huger.
He went with Vince, yeah.
Nice one. So I tell you what we'll do a normal thing. Then if you can't pick your pick, you have to pick somebody else's pick. Whose pick do you pick? Chris.
I forgot what everyone said.
I said WrestleFest. Nick said Super WrestleMania, and Mike said WrestleMania 2000.
I'm going to go with WrestleFest only because I never played it at the time, but I was playing on somebody's arcadey thing not so long ago, and I thought it was really fun. I wasn't very good at it, so I'm going to pick WrestleFest.
Mike Smith, what's your pop pick?
Same, WrestleFest.
WrestleFest?
Yeah. Again, didn't play it back in the day because I said before, we lived quite far away, so I had to wait for the switches to come before we could play anything. And it was only Superstars at that. But recently playing it on Michael's machine.
And Nick Atkinson?
I'll go with yours as well, Si. I'll say WrestleFest. It was the second game I couldn't get on at the fair. When I got on it, I wouldn't get off it. So yeah, totally agree with the 10 pence issue.
I think, is that the first time we've had a full agreement?
I think so.
This is what happens when Michael Henderson's not here.
We're Higgin boys.
What do you mean, Tekken? Nice one, fellas. Thank you very much. So, fellas, we've talked about your favourite wrestler. We've talked about your favourite wrestling game. The third part of the triple threat. Your favourite match. It can be from any era. Doesn't necessarily have to include your favourite wrestler. The two things aren't mutually exclusive. But which match always stands out as your favourite? You can only pick one. And we'll start with Nick.
So, for me, it's got to be WrestleMania 6, Hogan versus Warrior. Two powers collide.
The ultimate challenge.
Yeah.
God, I'm such a fucking nerd.
It was just the whole...
You're in the right place, Simon. You're in the right place.
But to be fair, it was that penultimate moment in the match when they're just bouncing off each other and they're both sucking on the air. Warriors doing all the fall and they're bouncing off side to side of the ring. And yeah, again, it's just going back to being a kid. It was just a sheer brilliant.
Arguably the best match either one of them had. Certainly the best match Warrior ever had.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt.
I remember that one at school as well. Everyone at school wanted the Warrior to win, but I wanted Hogan to win.
Well, I must admit, I was a Hogan fan when I was a kid, and all about the gold and yellow. But it was just the way the adrenaline was kicking through that match. It would have been one of those where you just imagine the fathers in the drinking their cans of Miller and Bud, and just everything about the whole thing. It was just awesome. I remember watching it with my friends on a Saturday morning. Sat there, and we couldn't do much, and just watching this match was absolute brilliant.
It was very, very good.
Nice one. Don't get us wrong. You've got the war era, but nothing but the best on the golden age.
It was so exciting and so just captured you, didn't it? It was, when you think two people, you'd expect the match to be terrible because Warrior really needs somebody to guide him through a match. And Hogan's, for all he's got the personality and the flair and everything else, his wrestling ability's never been the best, and especially in the ring with somebody as clueless as Warrior. And yet, it just worked, didn't it? It was just so good.
It did, yeah, totally agree.
Did you think the right man won?
I think he did. I mean, again, the whole match. I mean, you watch all these documentaries like the Andre documentary, and this was scripted, that was scripted, but again, there was at a point where you just thought, well, who's going to win? The way they're bouncing off each other, you can't tell.
It could have gone. Yeah, it was one of those people didn't know who was going to win. You can tell, and yet, and the audience was split. You know, it was half the audience were cheering for Hogan, half were cheering for the Warrior. When you go back and watch it now, the audience is going mental. It's fantastic. I actually watched it not long ago. It was cracking. It was actually the first WrestleMania I ever watched. It was WrestleMania 6.
I totally think it was the first one. I think I watched it on video, if I'm to be over honest. Can't remember watching it live or anything like that. But yeah, it was definitely sat in the friends' front room thinking, wow, this is brilliant.
And it was. Right, Mike Smith, what's your pop pick for your favourite wrestling match?
King of the Ring, 1998, Undertaker, Mankind, Hell in a Cell.
Wow, what a match.
It was. There's no other match that could be my favourite. It had everything. Planned things, unplanned things, blood everywhere. Oh, just, and it had the Undertaker in it, and Mankind, to be fair.
It's one of those matches where I've shown it to friends who don't like wrestling, and they've gone, bloody hell. I've got friends who don't follow wrestling but think that match is incredible.
Yeah,
I remember watching it live and just like I was quite obviously I'm a lot younger than you guys, you old bastards. But I was I was early teens, and I remember just like at my mate's house staying up all night watching it and just like jumping around the room and like we just couldn't believe what was happening. It was just amazing.
I would say we were also jumping around the room as well, and I was quite a bit older.
I mean, he breaks or dislocates his shoulder. He knocks his tooth through his lip.
Rips his ear off.
Well, not in that match. It was Vader took his ear off.
It was Vader, but he gets it quite heavily stitched in the end.
He gets dropped onto the pins and that. And what you forget about that as well is that wasn't the main event of the evening. The main event was Steve Austin versus Kane. And who makes an appearance at the end of that match? A heavily concussed, broken shoulder, tooth through his lip, Mick Foley runs back out and he's a stunner for his trouble. So it made his career though, didn't it? I mean, he was always a good worker and a great character, but it changed how people viewed Mick Foley, didn't it?
Oh, without a doubt, absolutely.
It kind of sums up to me when you think of the Attitude Era and all the blood and sweat and barbed wire and all the all the raw stuff that went on. It kind of just like epitomized all of that, didn't it? That match. It was like the pinnacle, I thought.
Yeah, it was when they made that Beyond the Mat documentary, and they show it, and Undertaker's like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize I've done that." And Mick Foley's wife and kids are screaming round, and he's like, "Yeah, do it again next week. Fine, I'm all right."
I mean, the year before,
And then,
Michaels and Undertaker had done it.
Yes.
And Michaels had dropped off the cage, but he sort of hangs and drops. And Foley apparently had thought, I need to top that. So he'd said to Taker, right, I need you to throw me off the top of the cage. And apparently it wasn't until just before the match Taker agreed to do it. He was like, I can't do that. And I believe the cage collapsing wasn't meant to happen either. Only going through the cage.
No, that was, yeah.
Going through it.
Yeah.
Going through it wasn't supposed to know.
Because it's the chair that follows him down that knocks his tooth out, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Undertaker had a broken ankle wrestling that match. You see when he manages to put Foley through the top of the cage and he has to somehow get down, and Taker sort of hangs and drops down to the mat, and you see him momentarily break character when he lands on his ankle and kind of winces. Top match. I mean, less of a wrestling match really, though, and more of a what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But yeah, it was the top level of, oh my God, they've taken it just somewhere else now.
Yeah. People have tried to match it since. As people have, Shane's hied himself off everything going, and people have dived off this, that, and the other. But I don't think anything's ever really topped how amazed everyone was at that.
Yeah, it kind of started like a phase of like high falls, wasn't it? Because I think it was Shane and Steve Blackman, and he went off but it was clearly like just like loads of padding at the bottom that you couldn't see. And that went on for a few years, and then they had all the TLC stuff came in, didn't it? And all the high ladder drama. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim Ross makes that match as well, though, doesn't he? With his shouting over, he's broken in half. You've killed him. Yeah, will somebody stop the damn match? It's
all boring, no?
Aye, top choice. Right, beat that one, Chris.
Well, just trumped it. Because I'm going Attitude Era as well, obviously, and I just can't beat that. But my favorite match is it was when wrestling was great, when they used to build up the matches slowly for not just like months and months in advance for WrestleMania. And it was WrestleMania 17, and it was The Rock, Stone Cold.
The first one.
I think it was. It was the one where I can't actually remember. It was the one where Stone Cold goes heel at the end. So they have this epic half-an-hour match, and it's like the pinnacle of the year. It's Stone Cold, The Rock, and it was when the Rock finally went full face because Stone Cold got the chair handed to him by Vince at the end.
Second one.
And GR's on the mic, and he's going, "Oh, I thought I knew this man. I thought I knew this man." And he's covered in blood and he's drinking the beer. Then he goes back to the game with a chair at the end and hits him again. It was just like the
Ross said something about me. He made a deal with the devil or something, didn't he?
Yeah. Because obviously Stone Cold and Vince had all that, years of like anti-authority back and forward, and it was brilliant. And then it was just like the pinnacle moment of WrestleMania. And Vince comes in the ring and hands in the chair and finishes off The Rock.
I remember watching that one. Yeah, I remember watching it live, and the flat we had in Bensham. And I remember at the beginning of the match, both of them hit their finishers really early on. Rock hits the rock bottom, Austin hits the stunner, but it goes backwards and forwards the match, and you're not sure who's going to win. Top thing, but does anyone else think that? Or does anyone else hate the way the Rock takes a stunner?
No, I love it.
It totally
I
oversells
love
it.
it. No, I love it. I love it.
Well, I was going to say it's not a bit overboard, like, is it? Stay outside
So,
and go up there.
apparently, I haven't heard the interview. But I was reading some the other day, and apparently they used to have a bit of a bet beforehand to see how much of an exaggeration the Rock could do each time. I think Steve Austin loved it. So when he used to hit the stunner, obviously for anyone who doesn't know, you shouldn't be watching this anyway. But when he hits the stunner, obviously he kind of bounces back and then flips back up on his head, doesn't he? And his legs inevitably bounce off the ropes and all the rest of it.
He sort of does a
I
full
love it.
backwards roll. I think he rolls on his back, backwards rolls, his legs bounce off the ropes, and he comes back. It's like it's so massively over the top.
I'd say it reminds me a little bit, and there was that match with Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels, where Shawn Michaels was told he was supposed to win the match, and Hulk refused, and then Shawn Michaels, he bounced around the ring, didn't he? He'd get punched and he'd do like throw.
What it was supposed to be a best of three, where Hogan would win the first match, Michaels would win the second, and Hogan would win the third. But Hogan changed his mind and said, "No, I'm not gonna let you beat us in any of them." So in the one match that went ahead, Michaels went, "Well, if I have to lose, I'm just going to make you look ridiculous," and he just oversold everything. It was SummerSlam one year, wasn't it? And every time Hogan so much as touches him, Michaels throws himself backwards.
There's a bit where Michaels is like on the corner. He's on the turnstile with like on both ropes, facing down, and the Hulk keeps kicking him in the stomach, and he bounces about 3 foot in the air every time. And there's a bit where the camera pans to Hulk Hogan's face, and he's just like, you can see how pissed off he is at the whole situation. It's just Shawn Michaels at his best for me. That like,
I mean, he can be a prick, Shawn Michaels, can't he? But I suppose fair play to him. He was in there against the other big prick in the industry, so maybe they deserve each other.
Yeah, love it.
But good choice. Right, that just leaves me then, doesn't it? I'm not picking an Attitude Era one. I'm going back a bit further. I'm going to pick Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog from SummerSlam 1992. A couple of reasons. Firstly, I mean, it's an absolute classic, absolute masterclass of back and forwards. The crowd are completely divided who they want to win, because obviously it's in Wembley Stadium. It's certainly the best match Davey Boy ever had in his career, and he was apparently completely out of it for most of it. He turned up. I don't think it was that he wasn't sober. I think he was on something else, and Bret had to basically walk him through the match. Bret Hart in his book actually calls it his favorite match he ever had. Which, coming from the Hitman, is pretty high praise, because he had some absolute classics in his time. But the main reason why I love it most of all is I was there. It was the first wrestling event I ever went to, SummerSlam 92 at Wembley Stadium.
Wow.
Me and a bunch of friends got the bus down to London to watch it. We were 15, I think. It was me and two friends, and I've got an uncle who lives, well, I say London, I think it's really Hertfordshire. But we still got him to come and pick him up and drive to Wembley from Victoria. And then pick us up afterwards, and we stayed at his house. But, I mean, there was over 80,000 people there. And the rest of the card was not amazing when you look back on it. You had Warrior and Savage for the world title, which wasn't too bad, because Savage is always worth watching. Other than that, though, Legion of Doom were there, and I only recently found out, because if you watch it, it's Legion of Doom versus the Beverly Brothers, and is it the Beverly Brothers, or is it Money Incorporated? One of them. Anyway, the whole point is they don't do the Doomsday device. Yeah, they finished the match with Animal doing a power slam. And I never knew there was anything to that until recently. There's a documentary series called Dark Side of the Ring. And there was a new episode last month about the Road Warriors. And apparently Hawk was so out of it as well that day They were worried he wouldn't be able to drive his bike down to the ring, which he manages. But then they were like, he's so out of it, we're not letting him perform the Doomsday device because he'll kill himself or he'll kill his opponent. So instead, they just had Animal just power slam the guy instead. But yeah, Undertaker was there. Undertaker came down on a hearse, which was fought Kamala. So there was loads of rubbish wrestlers there as well. The Berserker, do you remember him?
Oh, the Berserker.
Yeah.
And there was the Mountie and all these really. The Mountie, God, Jacques Rougeau was a decent wrestler, but the Mountie was awful. All these ropey wrestlers.
Terrible character, like.
Papa Shango was there, and
I love Papa Shango. Papa Shango was great.
Tito Santana and
Tito Santana.
Shawn Michaels had just split from the Rockers, and he fought Rick Martel.
The model. Brilliant.
Yeah. But all of which, if you go back and watch that event now, they're all just really crap matches, apart from the final one, Brett versus Davey Boy, absolute stone cold classic, and my favourite match. I probably like it more than most because I've got such memories of being there. And when he won, Davey Boy, he stood up on the rope and he had the belt, and the fireworks are going off to rule Britannia, and there's 83,000 people going nuts in Wembley Stadium. Probably I really vividly remember in front of us there was these two girls wearing pink Bret Hart t-shirts in absolute tears. And we were like,
that's class. Do you think we'll get a big event like that again down in the UK? Because we seem to be always forgetting.
They were discussing it, weren't they? They've been talking about having a WrestleMania.
Because Triple H had said something like it's hard for them because they don't make much money from it because of the weird, the time difference means it's hard to show it live back home, and you can show it live, but I think it's to do with sponsor money. It's you're not making a lot of sponsor money at after o'clock in the morning over there. So
yeah.
But I was watching a YouTube video from What Culture. I don't know if you've ever watched them. All right, they do gaming and wrestling and stuff. Anyway, one of those guys was pointing out that obviously WWE have done quite a few shows in Saudi recently, haven't they? Big pay-per-views in Saudi Arabia. Because obviously the Saudis can they can throw enough money at them where it doesn't matter so much about the advertising. Well, what happens if Saudi Arabia does take over Newcastle United? All of a sudden, Saudi Arabia has a 50,000 seater stadium in the UK.
Oh yeah,
wouldn't that be good?
Yeah,
awesome.
I certainly would. That.
Right, so we're back with our final part of the podcast for this week, our wrestling extravaganza. Chris Sager has tagged out, and Michael Henderson has tagged in. Joining the world's worst tag team tonight is Brian from Contract Wrestling Academy.
Hello all.
Say hello to the world,
Hi,
Brian.
Brian.
And he's here for the actual interview segment rather than just some random was shoehorned in to replace Michael, who wasn't here because he was, I don't know, something unimportant like his wife's birthday or something. It was his wife's birthday, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. 40th.
40th?
Yeah.
She's kind of a bit younger than you, isn't she?
He was away shooting ducks.
How does she feel about going out with an older man?
By 1 year.
Still older.
Have I ever seen you without your hairpiece?
No.
Nobody has.
Right, so as part of the wrestling special, I said we've got Brian Bell from Contract Wrestling Academy. Brian, just no pressure on out, but what is Contract Wrestling Academy?
Well, it's something I'd wanted to do for a long, long time. I started wrestling. It was September, I think, or September or October '99. Believe it or not. So I've been running quite a stint. It's something like I said I'd wanted to do sort of like train up the next lot, because most of the guys that are active on the scene at the moment, quite a few of them, I had a hand in training them. So I wanted to try and ensure that the Northeast scene would carry on once the old guard, for want of a better term, were no longer doing it. And it wasn't until I met my partner that she actually gave us the push to do it. It's just I never had the confidence in myself to actually go for it. But Lindsay, being who she is, went, "Aye, go on, give it a shot." And we just had our 3-year anniversary beginning of this month for the academy. So
Excellent.
Well done.
Next one. So where's the academy based?
it's in Bedlington, down Bedlington Station. It's located within our gym. It started off very, very humble. We had like two judo mats, no crash mat, just in like a community centre. And then we obviously got a bit more equipment as we went, as we grew, and got to the point where the wife thought, "Oh well, let's get a gym." So now we run an actual gym with a wrestling school, and the ring's up like the whole time in the gym, so it just runs alongside.
Nice one. So as well as the school, do you guys put on shows, or do you train people to work in other shows, or is it a bit of both?
Both, yeah. I'm heavily missing the shows, to be fair, and this Lord knows when the next ones are going to be with the way things are in the world at the minute. But we'll do two. We'll do the academy shows for Contract Wrestling Academy, and we'll have Contract Pro Wrestling as well for guys that work the scene and are already like established. And it's a sort of like a feeder company to once our guys in the academy are ready, they can feed up into the pro shows.
Nice one. So I mean, to anyone who watches who's into the indie wrestling scene, and I go to a few. Anyone I might have heard of going through your doors from the local wrestling scenes?
Dear.
If there's not, I can cut this bit. Don't worry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, Pac's done very well for himself.
He has. I saw him not so long ago for Defiant.
Aye, I was one of his first trainers. We like took him out of the backyard, stopped him jumping on just trampolines and jumping off ladders in the middle of a field in Cardiff. He travelled to Wales, so a load of them could like just wrestle in a field, like no ring, just them in a field. You know what I mean? And it's just there was far too much talent there to just, you know what I mean, just mess about like that.
The guy's very talented.
He is insane. He's one of the
people watch him now know him as Neville or Adrian Neville when he's in WWE.
He's one of the biggest talents that has ever been. Like right from day one. We used to train in Heaton in the community centre, and there was me, him, and a few of the other lads that were in there. And we're sitting just chuntering on, and I was just like, because you know how good he is when he's in the air. You know what I mean? There's no he cannot do. So I was just like, do you reckon you could do a 450 the other way on, like looking out of the ring and then jumping in? So he just climbed up to the top rope, bang, and I was just like, oh, I like that. All right. Just no bother. Insane. He's
Can you do that, Brian?
Oh, not anymore. You know, I've retired that one.
Them days are gone.
Yeah. Last time I saw him, he wrestled Davey Starr.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know Davey Starr. He's been on the indie scene for a long time. Absolutely amazing match. He's doing all right for himself in AEW at the moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I saw the match he had with Orange Cassidy.
Yes, it was very good.
It really let Orange Cassidy show what he could do as well, because he hadn't really up to that point.
No, that was like, was it not like his first proper match or something in AEW? Orange Cassidy, yeah. Nice one. So actually, on that, if you want to join in with that, I've got a couple of questions for you. Actually, one of them was going to be, are you much of a gamer? But then I see behind you, and I think, no, probably not. No.
Little bit, a dabble.
So, being you obviously are a bit of a gamer, one of the things we've already had tonight is name your favorite wrestling game ever. So name your favorite wrestling game ever.
It's going to be so predictable, but it's No Mercy
On the N64.
on the N64. Aye.
Nobody picked that.
Really?
No?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, absolutely love No Mercy.
Great system to it, wasn't there?
Absolutely. I have a special place for the newer games, the newer 2K ones, just for the creator character. Because I spend more time on that than I do playing the game. Just making, like, because obviously I don't know that many people. I always make all the people there now, so I've got all the local rosters made up.
I downloaded 2K18 and spent so long like making somebody really tall, really big, massive Mohican and a big beard. And I tried to fight and I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I've given up.
I haven't been keen on the last few.
It was like, whoa, I don't even, how many, I don't, all these buttons, no thanks.
The last one I played had a Steve Austin on the front. That 2K16 or something. Yeah. I don't like the system now, the constant reversals and things. I preferred a bit more arcadey. I loved the N64 games. No Mercy, Revenge was my favourite.
Yeah.
One of the other ones we mentioned was WrestleFest and Attitude. Chris picked Attitude, didn't he?
Yeah, Attitude is a good one.
Because Attitude had a big create a character mode, which is what we remember best about that one. Michael, you missed that. Any wrestling games spring to mind for you?
You know what? After WrestleFest, I didn't give a shit. I didn't like any of them.
Oh my God, here we go. It's a Game Boy all over.
I think they're all shit. I think the N64 is shit. I think the only decent thing the N64 has done is probably Bond when you're mortal with your mates before you go to Whitley on the Lash, 4-player, murder, death, kill. Apart from that, it's utter wank.
Did you not learn? Have you learned Nout? You slagged off the Game Boy. Now you're slagging off the N64.
But I do like Nintendo.
What are you doing?
I do. But I just think the N64 was I remember buying it.
Don't even get him started on the Wii.
No, wait for it. I saved up, right? And I was going to go to Ibiza. I planned it, all booked, and this was me spending money. And I blew it on the N64. What a waste of money that was. I was gutted.
Did you go to Ibiza?
Yeah, I took, I think, 400 quid with us, 2 weeks. I still lived like a king.
And an N64 to wing into the sea.
But yeah, and you know what? I haven't even got an N64 now. I thought I've got a box, but I must have sold the last N64 I had. I don't know. But there you go.
Bet you thought you had a box one up in the attic as well, didn't you?
Controversial, but yeah,
picked up and went, oh shit.
If you're a wrestling game fan, an N64 is a must for the THQ game.
It's not just all blocky, crappy graphics, man.
But it doesn't matter though. It's the system, a game of WCW Revenge or WWF No Mercy. It plays out like an actual wrestling match. It's so good. It's so balanced. It's so good. Michael, your hand out.
How can you complain about blocky graphics in a game when it's all we do?
This is Michael Henderson, founder of Northeast Retro Den, complaining about blocky graphics.
And his favourite systems is like 8-bit.
Yeah. 8-bit, yeah.
Oh, dear.
N64 is just rubbish. I mean, the PlayStation 1 was really good at like 2D graphics. And that's what it was better. The PlayStation 1 was better than the N64 all day long. You've got to agree.
Because it wasn't quite there. It was
there's no denying that, but
it wasn't.
That wasn't what you said to start off with.
No, but it just, I don't know. I think it was almost the death knell for Nintendo for a little while. That the N64 was, I think.
Okay.
It wasn't. Yeah, okay. The cartridge thing was, but okay.
If I can fleetingly return to the script.
The what? Never got sent that.
Anyway,
Chris Sager spent 5 minutes writing this on the back of a fag packet.
I did get a ripped beer mat with some like just speak.
Yeah. All right. Well, what we like to do, Brian, is we do what we call 5 for fun, where we hit you with 5 quick questions. You'll have a choice of 2, and you just pick a one. And if any of them are particularly interesting, we'll make question you on it.
Do we?
And I've doctored these from the crap Chris sent to be more appropriate. Because this isn't a Star Wars podcast, for fuck's sake. Okay, doke. So, DX or the NWO?
DX, definitely.
Mankind or Cactus Jack?
Cactus.
Tombstone or the Stone Cold Stunner?
Oh, hey, I love Taker, but it's got to be the Stunner, because that just comes from nowhere.
I can't believe this next one's coming up. The PS1 or the N64?
Couldn't make it up, could you?
Well, I didn't want to get blackballed by Michael.
I'm not listening.
I probably would have to go on PlayStation as much as I do enjoy the N64. I'd have to go on PlayStation.
And NXT or AEW?
NXT, definitely.
All right.
Because
Okay.
because better storytelling. AEW's it's too far, like it's too much indie. I'm a traditional guy. I like to see a solid story being told in the ring, and
It is very indie, AEW, but it's very good.
It is very good. It is.
But NXT is very good. NXT is better than...
It leans more towards the Japan style, where you can be dropped on your face on the outside from the top rope 7 times and still stand up.
What station is the AEW on TV?
Over here, ITV4
ITV4.
on a Friday night, like late, like 11 o'clock-ish.
I've got a record button because I'm well in my bed by then.
Oh, I just have it on, Series Link each week. Watch it on a Saturday morning where she's in bed, so she can't complain. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for this
Thank you, Brian.
Wrestle-tastic, grapple-tastic episode of Northeast Retro Den. I haven't forgotten, Michael. I'm building up to that. You've no idea how a promo works, does it? You've got to work
Tension, Michael. Build up the excitement.
It does. So there just remains the one thing left over, which is, of course, how we like to end every Northeast Retro Den, with a question or a quote to win a prize. This week's prize is as grapple-tastic as ever. It is a pop vinyl of one of the greatest talkers in the game, Jake the Snake Roberts. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use a quote. And all I want you to do is go to the Facebook thread for the Facebook post for this video and just answer me who is famous for saying this line. Now, none of the guys know what I'm about to say, and we didn't shout out the answer because we'll have to think of another one. But you'll see by their reactions whether they know it. Right. The quote is, "Just when they think they've got all the answers, I change the questions." So who famously said, "Just when they think they've got all the answers, I change the questions"?
Not a fucking clue. You know, Brian?
I do.
All right. Shh. Do you know, Mick?
Don't think I do.
No. Oh, well.
No.
So, you're not winning this, then. Piss off.
So that is the end of the Wrestle-tastic Northeast Retro Den podcast. Thank you very much to Mike Smith, Michael Henderson, Brian Bell, and Nick Atkinson from earlier on. This has been the Northeast Retro Den podcast. And if you ain't down with that, we got 2 words for you. Bye-bye.